Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next hour. Israel's airstrikes aim to shake the foundations of Khamenei's rule in Iran. Prime Minister Netanyahu visits the hospital that was hit by an Iranian missile as Donald Trump weighs United States' role in the widening conflict. Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping condemn Israel over Iran strikes. Russia warns the US against military intervention in the Iran-Israel conflict. After evacuating 110 students from Iran's conflict zones, India now readies to bring back citizens from Israel amid the intensifying West Asia conflict. Global stock markets shake as widening Israel-Iran tensions reignite inflation fears. And a record 54 Indian institutes make it to the QS Global University Rankings 2026. IIT Delhi tops the national list. Prime Minister Modi reaffirms the government's commitment to nurture research and innovation ecosystems for the country's youth. West Asia is on a knife's edge. Israel and Iran are locked in their worst conflict yet. Missiles in the skies, nuclear sites hit, and global powers calling for calm. As the conflict enters day 7, tensions soar and the world holds its breath. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump keeps the world guessing about whether the United States will join Israel's campaign in Iran or not. A report.
Missiles tearing across the skies, sirens wailing through the holy city of Jerusalem. The West Asia stands at the brink as the fiercest ever conflict between Israel and Iran enters day 7. In a bold escalation, Israeli warplanes struck deep into Iran, targeting nuclear sites in Bushehr, Isfahan and Natanz. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, reacting to Iran's missile attack that struck the Soroka Medical Center in Beersheba, vowed that Tehran's rulers would pay the full price. He pledged to eliminate the nuclear and ballistic missile threats once and for all.
Our goal is twofold. Nuclear, ballistic missile, we're going to remove that. We are in the process of completing removing this threat. We are committed to destroying the nuclear threat, the threat of a nuclear annihilation against Israel.
Meanwhile, chaos reigns on the ground. Evacuations are underway from the worst hit zones. Countries including the US, Australia, France, China, Greece, Italy and others are scrambling to fly their citizens out as regional airspace remains shut.
Honestly, it was hard. All of the checkpoints are closed. Now it's a bit easier, but there are still problems. Movement is still difficult and it's very crowded.
As the fire rages, the world watches with bated breath. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin held urgent talks Thursday, stressing the need for de-escalation and diplomacy. But US President Donald Trump has remained cryptic, offering no clarity on whether Washington will join Israel in launching further airstrikes.
I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due, because things change. I mean, especially with war, things change with war. It can go from one extreme to the other.
With nuclear fears mounting and diplomacy hanging by a thread, the world waits and hopes for a ceasefire. Amish Mahajan's report for DD India.
Meanwhile, Russia has warned the United States against taking military action on Iran as speculation grows over Washington's potential entry into the conflict alongside Israel. The warning came after President Putin's phone call with Chinese President Xi Jinping, where both leaders sharply criticized Israel's actions. We would like to especially warn Washington against military intervention in the situation, which would be an extremely dangerous step with truly unpredictable negative consequences. Further, the foreign ministers of Germany, France and Britain plan to hold nuclear talks with their Iranian counterpart on Friday in Geneva. According to sources, the ministers will first meet with the European Union's top diplomat Kaja Kallas at Germany's permanent mission in Geneva before holding a joint meeting with the Iranian foreign minister. The European initiative comes amid fears of a spiraling conflict in West Asia after Israel launched wide-ranging military strikes on its arch-rival Iran last week, and Iran sent waves of missiles at Israeli targets in response. The aim of the talks between Iran and the Europeans, which the German source said are taking place in coordination with the United States, is to persuade the Iranian side to firmly guarantee that it will use its nuclear program solely for civilian purposes. After evacuating 110 students from Iran's conflict zones, India now readies to bring back citizens from Israel amid the intensifying West Asia conflict. Our next report tells us more about Operation Sindhu.
After evacuating students from the conflict-affected zones of Iran on Wednesday, India will now evacuate Indian nationals from Israel. Their travel from Israel to India is being facilitated through the land borders and thereafter by air to India. All Indian nationals are requested to register themselves with the Embassy of India in Tel Aviv at www.indembassyisrael.gov.in/Indian National REG if not registered. In case of any queries, they may contact the 24/7 control room established at Embassy of India, Tel Aviv. Telephone numbers are +972 54 752 0711, +972 5432 78392, email cons1.telaviv@mea.gov.in.
Our missions have opened a 24-hour line for any request for evacuation, and as the situation evolves, we'll be sending more planes, more chartered flights to evacuate all Indian nationals.
In the early hours of Thursday, the first group of 110 Indian nationals evacuated under Operation Sindhu landed in New Delhi.
We were hoping that there will be a swift action, and it did. The Ministry of External Affairs and the embassy in Iran, Indian embassy in Iran, they helped us a lot. And when they came to our doorsteps and they told us we are bringing you home, and it was like I felt so happy.
India accords the highest priority to the safety and security of Indian nationals abroad. The government will continue to monitor the situation closely. The embassy remains continuously in touch with the community with a view to extending all feasible assistance. With bureau inputs, Tapas Bhattacharya's report for DD India.
You're watching DD India News. Are still to come on the show. Vladimir Putin says he's ready to meet Volodymyr Zelensky, but only to end the conflict as soon as possible. Russia's economy is on the verge of sliding into recession, says its economy minister Reshetnikov. And Hurricane Eric makes landfall in Mexico's Pacific coast. All that and more in our weather report.
Can the US launch a bombing campaign against Iran? The Philippines vessel suffered structural damage. The saga of child sexual abuse is the United States China's debt trap strategy. Truth is stranger than fiction. But sometimes hard to uncover. Trust us to tell the truth, unadulterated and pure, of every story that matters to you.
Exactly what to save your.
You read between the lines, cut the clutter, and connect the dots to get you the full picture. Watch Connecting the Dots at these times with me, only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday said that he's ready to meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, but only if it is during a final phase of negotiations. During a roundtable discussion with editors from international news agencies on Wednesday, Putin said Russia wants to end the conflict in Ukraine as soon as possible through peaceful means. The Russian president said that Moscow remains open to substantive talks aimed at settling the conflict in Ukraine. However, Putin questioned Zelensky's legitimacy as a representative of Ukraine.
I am ready to meet everyone, including Zelensky. I am even ready to meet with him, but only if it is some kind of final phase, so as not to endlessly sit and divide something, but to put a point to it. However, the signature must belong to legitimate authorities.
Russia's economy minister has warned that the country is teetering on the brink of recession, with monetary policy now key to avoiding a downturn. Speaking at the St. Petersburg Economic Forum, Maxim Reshetnikov urged the central bank to ease support as businesses struggle under a steep 20% interest rate. The Kremlin admitted the high interest rate is slowing the economy, though by design. Despite a recent cut, borrowing costs remain near record highs as the central bank tries to tame inflation in a war-driven economy. India's Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Ashwini Vaishnav, met with Russia's Culture Minister, Olga Lyubimova, on the sidelines of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum 2025. He also addressed the event. At the forefront of technology, the future of AI and global competition, where he said that under the AI mission, India has completely reformed the course and curriculum of engineering and technical institutes.
We have changed the entire course curriculum in our engineering and technical institutes. We have taken up talent development at 3 different levels. One is the mass level, where people can understand what is the use of AI, where people can then for example, data annotation. That's a mass scale. And we have taken up application level, and we have taken up research levels.
Greenland on Thursday handed a 30-year permit to European Union-backed project which aims to mine molybdenum, a critical metal used in aerospace, energy and defense, and on which China has imposed export controls. The resource-rich Arctic island has seen rising activity in its mining sector over the past month after US President Donald Trump expressed an interest in purchasing the island earlier this year. The permit was granted to Toronto-listed Greenland Resources, a company backed by the European Raw Material Alliance, and holds the license to the Malmberg project in eastern Greenland. The open-pit Malmberg mine can produce an average 32.8 million pounds of concentrated molybdenum per year, potentially supplying around 25% of Europe's molybdenum use, according to the company. Molybdenum is a silvery white metal used primarily to strengthen steel and improve its resistance to heat and corrosion, making it critical for industrial applications such as defense and clean energy. Back to Asia. Taiwan President Lai Ching-te on Thursday ordered defense and security units to step up their monitoring and intelligence efforts in response to China's military activities, which he said have not abated even as tensions rise in West Asia. Taiwan, along with Japan, has been tracking the movement of Chinese aircraft carriers, conducting simultaneous operations in the Pacific for the first time. Lai, in a statement released by his office after meeting with defense officials, said the conflict between Israel and Iran has led to a chain of global security challenges. Lai said he had asked the defense and security teams to strengthen their monitoring of regional developments and enhance their intelligence gathering and research capabilities. Meanwhile, China Coast Guard on Thursday said that it responded to illegal activities from multiple Philippine vessels near the Half Moon Shoal and the Royal Captain Shoal in the disputed South China Sea from June 15th to 18th. Updates next from the world of business and economy. United Nations Secretary General of Trade and Development Agency Rebecca Grinspan has warned that global investment in 2025 has declined due to changes in global trade policy, including tariff uncertainty.
Tariffs are affecting growth. Growth, according to all projections, including ours, is going down. Interest rates in Europe are going down, but in the US are still high, steady but high, and so we will have higher for longer. We are also worried about the debt stress in many of these countries.
Global stock markets fell and the dollar rose on Thursday, reflecting investors' preference for perceived safe havens as concerns mounted over possible US involvement in the Israel-Iran air war, which has ignited a rally in the global crude oil prices this week. A flurry of central bank decisions in Europe highlighted how Trump's erratic approach to trade and tariffs has complicated the job of central bankers in setting their monetary policies. In Europe, the Stoxx 600 fell 0.6%, set for a third day of declines, having dropped nearly 2.5% on the week, which would mark its biggest week-on-week decline since the tariff-induced turmoil of April. US S&P 500 futures fell almost 1%, although most US markets, including the Wall Street and the Treasury market, will be closed on Thursday for a public holiday. Much of the recent nervousness in markets has been centered around crude supply shocks from West Asia, which have driven the price of crude oil up by 11% in a week. Brent crude shot up 2% to $78 a barrel on Thursday, close to its highest level since January. Meanwhile, US Federal Reserve has kept interest rates unchanged for a fourth straight meeting, holding the benchmark rate between 4.25 and 4.5%. The US Fed also signaled 2 possible rate cuts later this year, even as it revised its outlook, warning of higher inflation and slower economic growth amid rising tariffs and global uncertainty.
The unemployment rate remains low, and the labor market is at or near maximum employment. Inflation has come down a great deal, but has been running somewhat above our 2% longer run objective. In support of our goals, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. We believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic developments.
Moving on now. India has achieved an all-time high in the QS World University Rankings, with 54 institutions featured in the 2026 list, a significant rise from 46 in 2025 and 45 in 2024. With this, India has become the 4th most represented nation globally, following the United States, the United Kingdom and China. A record 54 Indian institutes have been featured in the QS World University Rankings, with the Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Delhi, emerging as the country's top-ranked institute. Prime Minister Narendra Modi took to the social media and praised India's education sector. In a post on X, he said, "Our government is committed to furthering research and innovation ecosystems for the benefit of India's youth." IIT Delhi's global ranking has seen a significant jump from 150th position to the current 123rd rank in the latest edition of the Higher Education Institutions rankings across the world. This is the highest QS World University ranking achieved by the institute.
In a period of over last 6 decades, IIT Delhi has more than 64,000 alumni working in different parts of India as well as different parts of the world. And they have contributed enormously to research, technology development, solution to societal problems, industry. And their contributions also to startups, unicorns, has helped the institute to establish a strong academic reputation, which has contributed significantly to the QS ranking of this year.
This is another historic moment for India because we've seen a 390% growth in India compared to the last 10 years, which is definitely kudos to the Narendra Modi government, which is positioning India as a global leader. And one of the global leaders is IIT Delhi, which has improved its position by over 70 places in the last 2 years, which is, of course, due to its improvement of employer reputation and the citation indicator.
IIT Bombay, although down from its all-time high rank of 118 last year, continues to feature in the global top 130, securing 129th position. IIT Madras recorded a remarkable jump, moving up 47 spots to secure the 180th rank, entering the top global 200 list for the first time. Other top-performing Indian institutes include IIT Kharagpur at 215th position, Indian Institute of Science Bangalore at 219 and IIT Kanpur at 222. Among non-IITs, University of Delhi stood at 328th position and Anna University at 465 featured in the top 500. In a social media post, Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan said that from just 11 universities in 2014 to 54 in the latest rankings, this five-fold jump is a testament to the transformative educational reforms ushered in under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. He added that the National Education Policy 2020 is not just changing India's educational landscape, it is revolutionizing it. The minister also highlighted that it is a matter of immense pride that India is also the fastest growing education system among the G20 countries and the fourth most represented country behind only the US, the UK, and China. US-based Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, has topped the World University Rankings 2026, followed by London's Imperial College at the second position. California's Stanford University ranks third, and UK's Oxford University is at the fourth position. Quack Corelli Simons is a global higher education consulting firm. The rankings released by QS assessed over 1,500 universities across 106 locations, making this edition the most comprehensive to date. Bureau Report, DD India. From India to Mexico, extreme weather is wreaking havoc across the globe. While parts of eastern and southern India are battling intense monsoon rains and flood alerts, southern China faces mass evacuations due to typhoon-triggered floods. Meanwhile, across the eastern Pacific, Hurricane Eric has made landfall in Mexico as a powerful Category 4 storm, bringing life-threatening winds and flash flood warnings. DD India's Nishroy Roy reports.
Weather extremities are testing regions far and wide. From a powerful hurricane in the Pacific coast of Mexico to relentless monsoon rains in India, nature's fury is on full display this week. India's eastern state of Jharkhand recorded extremely heavy rainfall in the past 24 hours, with the downpour likely to continue till June 20th. The India Meteorological Department has issued an orange alert for Bihar, another eastern state, and parts of northeast, including a red alert in Assam, warning of heavy rain and thunderstorms. In Kerala, continuous rainfall has flooded homes, raised the levels of rivers and water bodies, and displaced hundreds of people, forcing them into relief camps. Meanwhile, India's national capital Delhi is under a yellow alert for thunderstorms and gusty winds, while in the western Indian state of Gujarat, districts including Surat, Valsad and Bharuch are bracing for very heavy rainfall under an orange alert. Across the globe, in the eastern Pacific, Hurricane Eric, a powerful Category 4 storm, made landfall in Mexico's western state of Oaxaca on Thursday. The U.S. National Hurricane Center labeled Eric as an extremely dangerous storm, packing maximum sustained winds of nearly 125 miles per hour. Emergency services have been mobilized and residents have been urged to stay indoors, avoid low-lying areas and follow official alerts closely. Meanwhile, southern China is reeling under a deadly combination of Typhoon Butip and the monsoon, which has triggered severe floods and landslides. Over 68,000 residents have been evacuated from Guangdong's Huaji County, while villages in Maoming City were buried under landslides, forcing residents to take shelter in evacuation camps. As extreme weather events intensify across regions, they serve a stark reminder of our changing climate. Nishchay Roy for DD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. In France, the authorities have deployed 4,000 police as part of a major operation to combat illegal migrants. The operation aims to intercept and detain undocumented migrants travelling through France's major rail stations and bus terminals. In Germany, Catholics celebrated Corpus Christi with a colourful boat procession on Staffelsee Lake to commemorate the Last Supper of Jesus and the Apostles. On this day, Catholics celebrate the presence of Jesus in the wine and bread, which symbolize his body and blood. Nigerian manufacturer Codex Bio Limited plans to make millions of HIV and malaria test kits at its new plant in Lagos for the local and regional market. This is to fill the gaps left by US donor agency USAID. The plant has a capacity to produce 147 million kits annually. In United Kingdom's Brighton, the health agency issued an amber warning over rising temperatures. The agency also warned of possible increase in risk to health for individuals aged over 65 years or those with pre-existing health conditions. Still to come on DD India News Hour. Natanz, Fardo, Bushehr. How much damage has Israel inflicted on Iran's nuclear program? We discuss with our expert. India's focus has been on quality, says Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal at the Future Frontiers Forum in London. And world gears up for the 11th International Day of Yoga on 21st of June 2025.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Thank you for staying with us on DD India News Hour. I am Tanvi Taneja. And now I'm joined by our esteemed guest on DD India News Hour, Ambassador R. Swaminathan, former Secretary in the Ministry of External Affairs, joins us on the show now. Ambassador Swaminathan has worked with both the Department of Atomic Energy of India and International Atomic Energy Agency. Welcome, sir, to the program. So today, all eyes are focused on West Asia, mainly because of the nuclear factor. Israel sees Iran's nuclear program as a serious threat. But Iran says that its nuclear work is peaceful and denies any nuclear weapons ambitions. Where does the truth lie?
Thank you very much for having me in the program. Iran joined NPT in 1970 and joined the IAEA, what is called the Comprehensive Safeguards Agreement, in 1974. And if Article 1 of NPT says that all the non-nuclear weapon states are not to acquire, manufacture nuclear weapons. But at the same time, Article 4 says inalienable right to peaceful uses of nuclear energy to the countries which have signed NPT as nuclear non-weapon states. And Iran has been emphasizing from the very beginning that it has that inalienable right for peaceful uses of nuclear energy. If you really see, 1953-57, Iran actually entered into an agreement with the US at that point of time. The first nuclear facility that was given to Iran was by United States of America, which is now called the Tehran Research Reactor. It was a 5 megawatt thermal reactor for research purposes in terms of, in fact, if you really see that, that in fact laid the basic foundation for Iran's nuclear program to start. And at this point of time, if you see, all the Iran's nuclear facilities are under IAEA safeguards. What I mean by that is that they have this Tehran research reactor, they have Bushehr nuclear power plant, which is, of course, is done with the Russian collaboration. They have the enrichment plants in Natanz, they have an enrichment plant in Fardo, and they have uranium conversion plant in Isfahan, and also they have a heavy water research plant, and there was a plan to have a heavy water reactor using natural uranium at Aram. All these facilities are under IAEA safeguards. And if you go back, actually when this joint comprehensive program of action, which was done in July 2015 between Iran and all the P5 countries plus EU, which was subsequently endorsed by the United Nations Security Council, limited Iran's program in a considerable way. What had happened at that point of time was that Iran had agreed for a containment of whatever its program it did. It just said that, like it will not do any enrichment in Fardo. It kind of scaled down in terms of its enrichment to 3.67%, and then it can have only 300 kgs of uranium. All this was agreed. But then what happened in 2018 was, during the first administration of President Trump, there was a feeling in the US that this agreement was only giving a kind of a break time for Iran and not really stopping it from the aspect of manufacturing the nuclear weapons. And therefore, Trump at that point of time, Trump administration rather, decided to get out of this JCPOA. Thereafter, Iran started enriching uranium and then it said that, and of course, at that point of time, there was a sanctions relief that was given to Iran. And after US left the JCPOA, the US sanctions came into force. So Iran said that we are now going to get out of the commitments that we made under JCPOA. And accordingly, it started enriching in terms of the quantities which has come, as you know, in the latest IAEA report, it was mentioned about 60%. But let me say one more point, that all this information is given by Iran to IAEA. IAEA inspectors are present in all these facilities.
So according to reports, Iran's uranium, as you also mentioned, reached about 60% enrichment. How far is that from being concentrated enough for a nuclear weapon?
You see, the uranium is considered, one is of course the natural uranium 0.9%, and the low enriched uranium is up to 20%, then high enriched uranium is about 20%. But what is called weapons grade uranium is more than 90%. And actually, in terms of the enrichment of uranium, as it happens in most of the other cases as well, from going from 0 to 5% you require much more effort to be able to master the centrifuge technology and be able to get everything right. But from 5% to 20%, it will be little more easier than 0 to 5%. Similarly, 20 to 60% will be somewhat easier compared to 20 to 60. Then 60 to 90 will be, I would say, relatively easier, meaning to say that you have a capability, if you have a capability of enriching uranium at the level of 60%, you do have the capability of enriching it to 90% and above. That is what it is.
Okay, Israel has been bombing Iran's nuclear infrastructure, especially its uranium enrichment plants. Now, some commentators have said that this could cause a Chernobyl-style disaster, and the IAEA itself is deeply concerned. But others say any such strike will have only a very localized impact. What is your view? Is there serious risk of nuclear radiation with serious consequences for people and the environment?
There are differences in terms of facilities. In terms of if there is a nuclear accident or an incident in a particular facility, it depends on what that facility is doing at that point of time. You mentioned Chernobyl. Chernobyl was an operating nuclear reactor, and the accident happened and there was a core meltdown at that point of time. There was a severe radiological consequence, as we know, at that point of time. And if you take Iran's nuclear facilities, it has the Tehran research reactor, which is 5 megawatt. And then it has a Bushehr nuclear power plant, which is Russia is operating with Russian collaboration. It's a 1000 megawatt nuclear reactor. And this reactor naturally will be, I would say, would have a very severe radiological consequence if it were to be attacked. particularly because it is in the Persian Gulf, and in that, if something were to happen, there will be a major kind of a radiological consequence. But having said that, so far Israel has not attacked neither the TRR nor the Bushehr, as per the available information. I also read somewhere that there was some area which was impacted closer to Bushehr. And if you see today, in fact, I believe President Putin had spoken to Israeli authorities to ensure, because there are about 200 or so Russian scientists and others are present in the Bushehr plant. So therefore, they are taking precaution that there is nothing which happens to that plant. But if you come to the other side, it is Fordo, Isfahan and Natanz. And actually, so far, Israel has attacked Natanz and Isfahan. And Natanz actually has what is called in this enrichment plant, they have a pilot enrichment plant. A partial portion of it is above ground, and otherwise the pilot enrichment plant and other main enrichment plant is about 40 meters or so below the ground. So when Israel's attack on that has eliminated the top enrichment plant and has also eliminated the power supply, which I believe has not really resulted in a major radiological consequence as per IAEA in that area. But what has happened is, I believe there has been some kind of a chemical contamination which has happened below. You know, there is one more point that one should remember, that highly enriched uranium is more chemically toxic, meaning indigestion of that particles of that will be much more harmful than its radiation effect. The radiation can be stopped even by our own skin or even by a thin kind of paper or something, it can be done. But therefore, the radiological consequence depends on the kind of facility. If you compare in a scale of comparison, I would say that Natanz, Fordo would be less in terms of radiological consequence compared to Bushehr and Tiara.
Okay, so talking of Fordo, one of Iran's nuclear sites which produces enriched uranium is dug into a mountain, and experts say it would be difficult for Israel to destroy Fordo. Only the US reportedly has the bunker-busting bombs to destroy this nuclear site. So in the hypothetical event of the bombing of Fordo, what could the consequences be as regards nuclear radiation and so on?
You know, this bunker buster that you are referring to, this is basically, I believe its actual name is this Massive Ordnance Penetrator, and it is called GBU Grand Bomb Unit 58 or something. I believe it's a 6,000 lb, meaning nearly about 2,500 or 3,000 kg single bomb, and it has nearly 1,000 pounds of high explosives. And this bomb, I believe, has never been tested in actual ground, in actual situation. Actually, what US had done was, in Afghanistan, I think they did use a bomb, not this, the one which is kind of in a kind of a scale, it is much less. That was used in Afghanistan. But this has never been tested on actual, practically on the ground. And I believe that this bunker buster has the capability of piercing through nearly 18 meters of reinforced concrete, and perhaps about much more in terms of double that amount in terms of the earth. But then the general sense also is that Fordo plant is, as you mentioned, that it is under a mountain, and I believe it is something in the range of about 60 to 80 meters from that ground level. And therefore, the general sense is also that probably one attack by this massive ordnance penetrator or the bumper under the buster bunker cannot penetrate so deep. So it will probably require 2 or 3 more attacks. Incidentally, this has to be delivered also by a particular bomber called B-2 bomber, B-2 stealth bomber.
Yeah, B-2, yeah, Spirit stealth bomber.
And Israel doesn't have this. The only country which have this is US.
Okay.
And whether US will do it, and again, what the experts say is that in terms of radiation, it will go deep into it. Perhaps the radiological consequence will be limited to that area, but who knows?
Okay, at this point, do you see the US becoming involved militarily in the Iran-Israel conflict?
You know, that's $1 million question. In fact, as you know, President Trump himself mentioned that it may or may not be. But you see, I mean, if you remember, there were took so far 5 rounds of discussions with Iran, between Iran and US. And the 6th round was supposed to take place on the 15th of June in Oman. but did not happen. But so President Trump has been saying both the things at the same time. And in fact, if you remember, the day after the launch of his thing, he said that it's an excellent attack that happened. But at the same time, he has always been saying that Iran should not have any nuclear weapon. It should come to the negotiating table. But the only fundamental difference in terms of between the two sides, meaning US and Iran, that Iran is saying that they have a right for enrichment, as they did in the case of the JCPOA, which was done in July 2015. Whereas US has been saying no enrichment. In fact, in the last letter, that was a written proposal that was communicated from US to Iran, they were proposing a regional enrichment consortium consisting of Iran, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, under the supervision of both US and IAEA. But as far as Iran is concerned, they say that no way, that we can't do it. And of course, as you know, that Iran has been saying in the beginning that, like if Israel were to stop the war, stop the attacks, then they can come to the negotiating table. But of course, yesterday or day before, I think the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei mentioned that there is no question of forced surrender or a forced peace. So it's how it is going to happen. In fact, I would say from the point of view of everybody's interest, the regional interest and the global interest, I hope they are able to get back to the negotiating table and be able to solve this problem peacefully, as has been mentioned by India in its own statement a few days ago.
Yes, of course, the role of United States very crucial in this conflict. Thank you very much, Ambassador R. Swaminathan, for giving us your analysis on the nuclear sites, radiation situation and the evolving conflict. Thank you very much for being with us on the show. All right, let's move on now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a three-state visit for 2 days from Friday, a tour that will include the launch of multiple development projects in Bihar and Odisha, and his participation in a mass yoga program on the occasion of the International Day of Yoga from Visakhapatnam. Our next report tells you about the details of what Prime Minister Modi is going to do during his visit to the states of Bihar and Odisha on Friday, that's 20th of June. A curtain raiser report on PM's Bihar and Odisha visit.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting the eastern Indian states of Bihar, Odisha on Friday. The Prime Minister's first stop will be Bihar, where he will lay the foundation stone and inaugurate multiple development projects in Siwan around noon. The projects are expected to give a major boost to infrastructure and socio-economic development in the region. The Prime Minister will inaugurate the new Vaishali-Deora railway line project worth over 400 crore rupees and flag off a new train service on this route. Additionally, PM Modi will also flag off the Vande Bharat Express between Patliputra and Gorakhpur via Muzaffarpur and Betia to improve connectivity in North Bihar. Furthering the vision of Make in India, Make for the World, Prime Minister will also flag off the first state-of-the-art locomotive built at Marhaura plant for export to the Republic of Guinea. As part of conservation and rejuvenation plan of River Ganga, Prime Minister will inaugurate 6 sewage treatment plants under the Namami Gange project worth over 1,800 crore rupees, catering to the needs of the people in the region. Also, in a major boost to power infrastructure in the region, PM Modi will lay the foundation stone for a 500 megawatt battery energy storage system BESS capacity in Bihar. Later, Prime Minister will visit Bhubaneswar in Odisha and chair a function marking the completion of 1 year of the BJP government in Odisha in the evening.
On June 20, this visit marks not only the first anniversary of BJP government in Odisha, but also his first trip to the state after the success of Operation Sindoor.
For Odisha's holistic development, the Prime Minister will also inaugurate and lay the foundation stone on multiple development projects worth over 18,600 crore rupees. These projects will cover critical sectors including drinking water, irrigation, agricultural infrastructure, health infrastructure, rural roads and bridges, sections of national highways, and a new railway line. The train service extending rail connectivity to both districts for the first time will be inaugurated by the Prime Minister. In a major boost to clean energy and sustainable transportation, PM Modi will flag off 100 electric buses under the Capital Region Urban Transport System, supporting a modern, eco-friendly urban mobility network. With inputs from Dheeraj Kumar in Patna and Somesh Patel in Bhubaneswar, Bureau Report, DD India.
India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal, while addressing the Future Frontiers Forum in London, said that India's focus has been on quality and better quality standards so that India is recognized the world over as a producer of quality goods or supplier of quality services. The minister added that the focus is on creating capacities to scale and entering into robust trade pacts with the developed world.
India's current contribution to global trade, it clearly demonstrates a huge possibility to grow in the future. Over the last few years, our focus on quality and better quality standards so that India is recognized world over as a producer of quality goods or supplier of quality services. Our focus on creating capacities to scale, our focus on entering into robust trade agreements with the developed world.
Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu Kinjarappu convened a detailed video conference with all airport directors across India to review ground-level preparedness and passenger support mechanisms in the light of rescheduling of flights happening due to multiple reasons like post-accident checks, weather changes, closing of certain airspaces due to geopolitical tensions, and so on. The Civil Aviation Minister also held a high-level meeting with the Chairman and Managing Director of Air India. The meeting noted that due to the evolving situation in West Asia, enhanced safety checks and a ban on night flying in Europe, Air India is facing reduced aircraft availability. The Bangladesh government appointed Secretary Asad Alam Siam, who served as Bangladesh ambassador to the United States, as the Foreign Secretary of the country. Siam brings a wealth of experience, having served as Bangladesh's envoy to several countries, including the Philippines, Austria and Hungary, as well as the permanent representative to the UN offices in Vienna and the OPEC Fund. The Create in India challenge, launched by the India's Ministry of Information and Broadcasting as part of WAVES 2025, has emerged as a transformative platform to identify and elevate India's creative talent onto the global stage. One of its standout success stories, Desi Oon, a film by celebrated animation filmmaker Shri Suresh Eriath, has brought international acclaim to Indian animation by winning the Jury Award for Best Commissioned Film at the Annecy International Animation Festival in France. Widely regarded as the world's most prestigious stage for animation, this rare and monumental victory placed Indian animation on the world map. Desi Oon was recently crowned the best film at the WAVES Award of Excellence 2025, India's leading animation and design recognition platform under the Create in India challenge. In addition to the Annecy honour, the film has also been shortlisted at Cannes Lions 2025 in the Film Craft Lions category, making it a landmark achievement for India's animation industry. Maker of Desi Oon, Suresh Eriath, termed the award as a huge honour for Indian animation industry at the global stage.
Storyteller and creative director Suresh Eriath is with us. Sir, congratulations on your animated movie Desi Oon. It's making big names at Annecy Film Animation Award. What is this film about? And as the name suggests, it's something to do with the wool.
Absolutely. It is a film to make people aware of the pastoral life and the wool economy that needs a lot of attention in today's time when industrialization is taking over.
So winning this award and it's bringing huge honors to India and its animation world. How was your reaction? What is the team's reaction?
Oh, it is ecstatic because this is the highest honor that one can ever expect for an animation film. Oscar, yes, but in Annecy, the animation is celebrated. Animation filmmaking is celebrated. They have nearly 4,000 films entered from 100 countries. And out of that, ours was the only film that was nominated.
How do you see Waves, being instrumental to taking it to the next notch?
I think Waves is a great platform for Indian industry to take a look, and even the policymakers to understand how important this area is. And having such triumphs globally, it only makes this a lot more needed forum.
With camera person Kapil Maske, this is Shama Mishra for DD India, Mumbai.
As the world gears up for the International Day of Yoga, our next section tells you about this ancient Indian practice. Well, yoga is India's elixir for humanity. It is about plugging into an uninterrupted source of power by going within. India's Ministry of Ayush aims to integrate yoga into daily governance and office routines. It has urged yoga leaders to organize Yoga Sangam on 21st of June and make sure... From the streets of Amsterdam to studios in Tokyo, yoga continues to inspire millions. Our correspondent Mark Limberg brings us this report from the Netherlands.
Once a sacred practice rooted in Indian tradition, yoga has now become a global phenomenon. From parks in Amsterdam to rooftops in New York, people everywhere and from all walks of life are discovering its power. Once practiced mainly by spiritual seekers and traditional healers in India, yoga has evolved over centuries, crossing borders, cultures and continents. Today, it's embraced by millions around the world, not only just as exercise, but as a way of life. Here at the India House in The Hague, we asked the Indian ambassador Kumar Tuhin how he sees the role of yoga in strengthening the cultural ties between India and the Netherlands.
Yoga serves as a profound cultural bridge, and it conveys the message of harmony and peace.
But beyond the global trend, what does yoga actually mean to those who teach it? We asked Dr. Prashant, a yoga instructor based in the capital of the Netherlands, Amsterdam.
Where I grew up, it was natural to practice yoga or have a yoga school. Yoga for me is attaining a greater soul consciousness and living in that consciousness in the physical world. So if I drink water, being aware of me, the soul, while the body is being fed with water or food. So that is a constant attempt to remember and remind myself that, hey, I am the soul occupying this body. Yoga has been really something that was part of India. In the West, yoga became more popular, and then I would definitely also give credit to Prime Minister Modi, who popularized the yoga tradition through the International Yoga Day.
As yoga continues to unite people across cultures and continents, here is a message from the Netherlands for those celebrating this International Yoga Day.
Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukh bhag bhavet.
Sabhi janon ko namaskar. Namaste.
Mark Limburg reporting for DD India from the Netherlands.
And some sports news now. Spanish club Real Madrid on Thursday said that their forward Kylian Mbappe has been admitted to hospital after suffering from gastroenteritis during the Club World Cup. Frenchman Mbappe missed Real's opening game at the Club World Cup against Al Hilal, which ended in a 1-1 draw on Wednesday. According to reports, Mbappe, who was taken to hospital on Wednesday, had been isolated from his teammates since Tuesday and was considered out of the group stage of the Club World Cup. Coach Xabi Alonso hinted on Wednesday that Mbappe was doubtful for Real's next game against Mexican side Pachua on Sunday. And as part of a Yogandhra 2025 program, Jal Yoga was performed at the bank of Krishna River at Pushkar Yoga Awareness Program. Take a look. yoga, a practice that unifies one's body, mind and soul. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live, and you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates from India and the world on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.